Hello everyone, welcome to this Chartbrick review. Today I'm going to be telling you everything you're going to need to know about Chartbrick. And as usual, if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. And I will also be leaving a discounted link in the description of this video so that you can always get your money's worth for Chartbrick. So Chartbrick is a software that allows you to take all of your databases from either Airtable or Notion, and you're able to put them into charts that you can then embed, you can download, you can put them on your websites and stuff like that. Now, graphs are an excellent way. A lot of people absolutely love using graphs, and they do come with, a lot of use cases. You might want to put them on, say, your website to show some statistics of how many customers you're getting and reviews or things like that. You might want to download them to share with your friends. You might want to keep an eye on different fluctuations between statistics in different months. You're able to obviously download 1 month's of statistics and then put all of the different graphs and charts into a folder so that you can look at them all in one. There's a lot of use cases for something like this, but this is what our main dashboard looks like. Now, as you can see, we have our charts, and we can create a chart, and we can use our profile buttons up here. So if I go ahead and go to the task list that I first selected, this is where we can create our chart itself. And at the top, we can switch between the data that we've got in the chart and then obviously the visualization of what we've got. So on the right-hand side, we can pick the type of chart. The options that you've got are column, bar, line, area, pie, donut, and radar. You also can change the y-axis and the x-axis for specific fields, so obviously along the corridor and up the stairs. And then you obviously have name, status, and date created. You can combine rows with the same value or sort by numerical or alphabetical order. You can set the title for the graph. You can position the title wherever you want. You can add a subtitle and vice versa. You also have the ability to show a legend, so if you turn that on and we can select where this is, once we've created a graph, I'll show you what that does. You can also have your data labels either at the top, center, or bottom, and then you can obviously switch between dark mode and light mode. So for this, I'll switch it to dark mode, but you can obviously change the overall color of the graph as well, and then show the X or Y axis grid lines. As you can see, I've gone ahead and created a graph. We've selected the X axis to be the date created, and then the Y axis is the status. So obviously your Notion things will have all of your built-in things that are already added, the things that you've already completed and already sort of implemented into your Notion. So it will be very, very different, and you'll have a lot more than what I've got, and you'll have specific use cases for it. But I obviously have only used the ones that are inbuilt to Notion and ones that are temporarily created when you start your new notepad. If we then go ahead and add a title, we can call this title, say, tasks, as we already know, and then this will appear either at the left, the center, or the right, and this is basically this will move here. A subtitle, we can do tasks to be completed, and then this can also go to the left, center, or right, and then the legends, you can either decide to show it or not, which is basically the key. Legend is another word for key, and you can obviously select where you want this to be as well. And then you can also show data labels either on, which are these here, and you can either set these to the top, center, or bottom as well. Now, the theme of the overall thing, you can obviously change the color. We can make it red, and this basically just changes the color of the data that we've got. You can either choose whether you want it to be multiple colors, so if you have 2 different things or even more, or multiple different aspects of your chart, you're able to change the color of each of them so that you can obviously differentiate when you're looking at the chart. And then the grid, you can either show the lines or hide the lines. This is a completely down to your personal preference as to whether you want that to happen or not, but it is nice to know that it's there. Obviously, if you switch between any of these, it will immediately just change the overall look of it, and when we actually have some data involved in the chart, it will be added. And then under the data page at the top, this is where all of the different aspects of our bar chart will be, or our overall chart. It doesn't have to be a bar chart. Essentially, when you've got Notion, you're able to make different pieces of data. So one of the things that I imported was a task list, and this is one of the things, or one of the use cases that you might want to use this for. For example, as you can see, I've got the status of the task at hand, which is doing or in progress, and then you have the name of the task, which is take fig on a walk. So say, for example, if you run a company and say you wanted to have all of the tasks laid out and sort of view your average completion rate, this is a use that you might want to use this software for. So obviously you'd have all of the different tasks that you've got down the side, and then you'd have their status. And then if you went back to the chart aspect, you'd be able to sort by obviously the y-axis and the x-axis. You would want to select, say, the status on the x. So this would either be doing or not done, and then obviously the name on the left. So basically you'd be able to then visualize the name of the specific task and whether it's either done or not done. And judging by obviously on the left or the right, because you have the two things here, you'd be able to see whether they are done or not done. And having that graph will then allow you to share the information about you, maybe potentially whether you've done it or not, and then you let people, as I said at the beginning, let them see your average completion rate of different tasks. So this would be a really, really handy use case for this. And I'd say some pros and cons of this software is definitely the fact that if you say, for example, needed to create a bar chart, a lot of the applications that do it, for example, Word or Excel, they all do it. So if you have to do it manually, you have to input individual, you have to create all the lines yourself. It doesn't do it automatically, just laying it out on your page. You have to design it with specific inbuilt features. You then have to obviously specify by selecting all the things, and if you were, say, using Google Sheets, any other use case apart from Google Sheets or Excel rather, you would have to then manually also set the variables and set the amount. Say for a bar chart, you'd have to set the specific amount on the left as well. So you'd have to create a box that went up to say 1.6, whereas this basically does that all for you by reading the data that you input. So that is one really, really handy feature about Chartbrick, and it's one of the reasons why I would definitely recommend it. As well as that, as we can see on the data page, we have the option to change the data source. So say, for example, you wanted to quickly switch up what you were doing, and instead of it obviously just showing one thing or one piece of data that you've got, you wanted to do the other ones that you've got. And instead of creating a new chart, once you've, say, downloaded one, instead of creating a new one, you can hit change data source, and this is where you can then add pages if you want to add one that hasn't already been created, or you can choose a pre-made database that you've already created in Notion. So by hitting here, we have task list, journal, travel plans, recipes, and media. So obviously I've selected travel plans and task list so far, but if we selected recipes and hit confirm, this would then add all of the different recipes that we have on our list. So as you can see, vegetable, the main for 2, tags is dinner. So you'd obviously be able to then maybe put this into your graph, and one of the use cases for this would be to sort of see what you've got for dinner, lunch, and breakfast, all in different areas. So say you had a pie chart, for instance, and you wanted to see, the proportion of how many dinner meals or dinner recipes or lunch recipes and breakfast recipes that you've got, you'd be able to import all of them and then select a pie chart and view the percentage of each of these in a really nice way. And then you'd be able to download that and use it for your use case and stuff like that. And also, if you wanted to show, recipes to people for a cooking website, you'd be able to download a pie chart of the percentage of how many recipes you've got, as I said, and then import that into your website by embedding it. And then this would allow all your, customers and, people who are visiting your website to be able to see the overall, dissipation of how many recipes you've got for specific meals of the day. Obviously, very quickly, to create a chart, what you would have to do is head back to the main dashboard that we saw earlier. And when you hit the word create, this will then let you select a data source. So obviously, we're going to do Notion again, but if you do link it with Airtable, you are able to do that. So if we hit Notion, we're then able to board to this page again, and you can either add pages, and this will then take you externally to our Notion page. As you can see, something's gone a little bit wrong here, but once it does sort itself out, you will obviously have to select the pages that it wants permission to, and as you can see, you can view the permission that it will have access to. You hit select pages, and then under my Notion, you have getting started, quick note, personal home, task list, journal, and reading list. And when you're done with that, you would hit allow access, and then this very, very simply would bring this one back up again, where you're able to then select the database or add pages that you may want to add more from. And then you're also able to change the data source here by switching all the way over to Airtable and using anything that you've got implemented if that is also the software that you've decided to opt towards. But as soon as you've done that, you can hit confirm after you've selected a database, and this will bring up exactly what we had last time with chart and data at the top, and then obviously you'd be able to import this to your pleasing and create those charts to download. And then when you're finished, you hit the share button at the top right, and then you can either make chart public for an embed, and then you obviously just have this is a direct link so you can embed it on your Notion page. And if we hit this one more time, you're also able to embed it into your website with this HTML link here. And then obviously you can download chart as an image so that you can use this basically any way you want, completely free. It doesn't just have to be, an embed link, and it also doesn't have to be a website. You can put it anywhere. So that's a really, really great feature. But that is more or less it for Chartbrick. So now I should answer, do I recommend Chartbrick and why? And the answer to that is yes. So Chartbrick takes a really unique approach for something that usually would have to get people to have all their data, listed on maybe one screen or on a piece of paper and then import all of that manually into their Excel or Word document or anything like that. This takes initiative and it allows you to basically do everything automatically by importing things that you've already created and statistics that you might already have. Instead of having to, write all of them down individually and manually, it will automatically put it right into a chart. You can also select all through your data, which I really, really like. You don't have to do everything that you've got, and the fact that it links with both Notion and Airtable, which are two really high note-taking and overall just business softwares that people are going to use in order to get statistics and write stuff down that they might need to know, is an excellent, excellent idea, and they've picked two of the finest softwares in order to use for their program. But thank you everyone so much for watching. That is about it for Chartbrick, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.